please.
Thank you, and we're going to call this meeting to order. And first of all, I just want to say, those of you that showed up tonight, thank you. We love seeing people in the audience. I know this is one of the most exciting things in your life for being here, so we're grateful for that. So if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be so kind to join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, bless our community with unity and love. Help us to support one another, to show compassion, and to be a beacon of hope. May your space fill our homes and our hearts, and may we always strive to build a strong, supportive community. All this we ask in your name. Amen. Thank you. All right. Next is the adoption of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? All right, so the regular meeting minutes, hearing nothing about changes, I need a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I move to accept the minutes of April 12, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Approved. And number two, we need a motion for the meeting minutes of 8/26.
Make a motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes from August 26, 2025.
Second.
Got a first, a motion and a second. Any discussion? None. All in favor say aye. Okay. Thank you. We're moving on to public comment. And first up, and if I say this incorrectly,
During public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to the town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name-calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and/or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of the town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for public comment may be ruled out of order by the presiding officer. Any person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from further improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may subject the individual to removal from the meeting and/or a citation under Section 2-49 of the Town Code.
wasn't that nice? AI. Just for information, under presentations, celebrations, recognitions, I understand there were none, so I skipped that. So we'll move on to public comment. And again, if I get this name incorrect, I do apologize. You know who you are. I'm looking at you, I guess. Frank Pashura?
Not exact, but close enough.
Well, if you would state your name and address, and if you live in the town of Bluffton, that would be appreciated.
My name is Frank Pasurcia, close, 10 Crossings Boulevard in Pinecrest, and I am in the town of Bluffton.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank the mayor, who's not here, as well as, and the council for the continued support for our community as we are dealing with the golf course owner, as you're aware. With the threat of him closing the club, as well as the Pinecrest course, I wanted to know what the town minimum requirements would be for the golf owner for the maintenance of the golf course and the ponds, as well as the lagoons. I received an email from, now I may butcher the name, Kevin Nygaard, is it?
Kevin.
Kevin, And he stated currently the town does not have a property maintenance code in place. I was kind of surprised at that, being that, we want to keep our town up to, beautification. As well as with the overgrowth of weeds, et cetera, it could become a safety and health hazard to our community, the wildlife, and the town itself. Pinecrest contains 489 homes, many of which have children that walk to the local schools on a daily basis, and they also could be affected by these conditions. Some of our homeowners are here in attendance today. Additionally, our community must maintain and report conditions of our 2 lagoons every 2 years for BMP, yet the rest of the lagoons owned by the golf course owner are not tested, even though our lagoons are interconnected to theirs. The majority of the lagoons in Pinecrest are owned by the golf course. If left uncapped, this again could be a, safety and health hazard, especially since eventually all of these lagoons do feed into the May River. And if unkept, they could harm the beautiful May River, which, as we know, is a major attraction to Bluffton and the Low Country. With all this information, I would hope that the council would adopt an ordinance for minimum property maintenance for blighted homes and businesses in the town. This will keep our town in such a high demand and as beautiful as it currently exists. And I just wanted to thank you all again for your support.
Thank you. We appreciate it. If you feel that you have questions that have not been answered at any time, you can always reach out to our town manager, Stephen Stees. Thank you. Next, we have Lewis Brown. Please state your name, address, and if you live in the town of Bluffton.
Yes, my name is Lewis Brown. My address is 37 Posey's Court, and yes, I do live in the town of Bluffton. The reason I came here this afternoon is I want to thank the council for allowing me to speak on my behalf. As a resident, one of the things that I feel that there is a lack of communications between me and the town, because recently I attempted to put a place on my property that I have for my child. The fees that, the town fees weren't that bad, but one of the fees that impacted me very severely was the fees that Beaufort Jasper Water did, or what have you. They said that the town has, I think they call it merits or something like that, but some assistance, basically. I attempted multiple times, and it was close to a year that I was trying to get in contact with someone to give me guidance on how to actually get an answer, whether the answer was yes or whether the answer was no. I never got an answer. That was that's my main issue, that there's no communications. There are times that I'm also wondering of what are the requirements for some areas, because I've seen areas in the town of Bluffton that are being maintained when you're more in the historical, what the town considered the historical portion, but on the outskirts where you have one portion is in town of Bluffton, the other portion is in the county of Beaufort County, that you don't maintain these areas. One item in particular where I live right beyond the Parkers, that's on the corner of Buck Island Road and Highway 46. I've been asking about doing a sidewalk coming down there. They won't do it. They told me that you do it through grants or what have you and stuff like that, and that through those grants, it has to serve the majority of the people, okay, which I can understand that. However, I see sidewalks or walkways that are safe for people to travel, even on the side of your highways, but yet the parkway in particular, and in some areas that are very seldom traveled. But I can't get a sidewalk down on that side, nor can I get even the town to keep the grass cut down through that area. Understand it is going through a highway, yet and still we're in the town of Bluffton. So if the town of Bluffton can maintain grass and highways cut and manicured around the other areas, it should be able to be able to maintain it during that areas also. And so I just wondered if there was a special requirement in order to be able to talk to the town or what have you and stuff like that. But I'm a taxpayer just like everybody else, so I feel that I should be able to get an answer back when I do send a question to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, Mr. Town Manager, if you might reach out to him after this, I appreciate it. Next, we have Jennifer Albero.
I'm Jennifer Albero.
Can you state your name, address, which you stated your name and whether you live
Jennifer
in town?
Albero, 18 South Drayton Street. I'm in the town of Bluffton.
Thank you.
I was here in April, and I talked about the noise ordinance exception that basically gives all the gated communities within Bluffton, basically they can have, they're not subject to any of the noise ordinances that the town would be subject to. And I had conversations with Emily, and I thank her very much for her time. And I had a conversation with Stephen and Heather. And it seemed like there was kind of a dead end that we can't, well, let me back up a second. So I live in Palmetto Bluff. There's a hotel on site, and they have a lot of events, you know, probably every weekend during high season, like in the fall and the spring. And there's a lot of amplified music. So it's when you live in the areas where the music is, it's very loud. And it goes sometimes past 10 p.m. So I've had these conversations with the town manager and Heather and Emily, and it seems like the exception to the noise ordinance doesn't apply to gated communities. And I wanted to just bring this up again, that is there any way that we could make the exception that it could stop at 10 p.m. in Palmetto Bluff because it has an on-site hotel? I feel like it's unique. It's not like other gated communities. It's public. It has a hotel that has these events that are just for outside, you know, weddings and people that aren't part of the community. So that was basically my request. Is there any way we can like carve something out of that exception?
We appreciate your concern, and we each got your email.
Yes.
So we all have the opportunity to read it, and if they have any issues that we feel that we need to reach out to you, we will. But we've heard you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I believe that's the end of public comment. Next, we have communications from the mayor and the council. And I'll go to Mr. Hamilton first.
Well, first thing I would like is Mr. Brown and to get some answers to. He said that his message fell on deaf ears. I don't understand that. So I'm sure it didn't come to you, right?
Well, he was communicating with Mark and Bree, and my understanding was they responded. I'll follow up, but I'm sending him an email right now to schedule a meeting, and we'll get on the same page.
Very good, thank you. Next thing I want to do is make everyone aware that our mayor is not here tonight because he's ill. So let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Okay. We definitely want the community to know that your voices doesn't fall on deaf ears. Probably if you reach the wrong department, sometimes that happens, but it doesn't fall on deaf ears. We're trying so hard to be transparent as much as we can, and we also believe that the voice of the people is who we represent, okay? Thank you.
He just spoke for me as well.
You doing a ditto?
I am.
Okay. Ms. Frazier?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, again, he beat me to it. I was going to acknowledge the fact that the mayor is not feeling well tonight. And so we look for a speedy recovery for him. And this morning, we had a ribbon cutting at Bluffton Self-Help. They've expanded. And, I just want to, I've done it before, but, it's a great organization. But I just want to give another shout out to all nonprofits that serve our community, because you cannot have a great community without all of these nonprofits filling the voids. Government can't solve all problems. We need these nonprofits. So I highly encourage everybody to find one that resonates with you, and please reach out to them and give them your support. All right, up next, we have a workshop agenda item for the council We have Heather giving this. It's going to be on consideration and direction on a proposed amendment to the municipal code of ordinances.
Okay, thank you. So, as you stated, this is a workshop item. So one, just to kind of go back, why are we here? Well, this is our mission statement, as we take care of our citizens, and continuing to try to make it better. So when issues come up and arise, we address them, and council gives us direction to move forward. As you may recall, I was here back in January for a workshop on this item. It was related to other parts of the municipal code related to noise. So some things that we talked about at that workshop was limiting the number of attendees at special events and facility rentals for certain areas that maybe some events have outgrown some spaces, particularly Oyster Factory Park. Possibly reducing hours for amplified noise and music and outdoor entertainment was point of discussion, as well as regulating bass and other nuisance sounds and lights, and how would we go about doing that? And also just adding some additional penalties for violations. So at that meeting, there was lots of discussion. The direction to staff was to go back and let's look at our events over the past year and see what that data is. How many events are having amplified music? How many events are going beyond the 9 o'clock? So we did work and also work with our police department as far as monitoring the complaints that came through and what are they, where are they, and how do we address it. So I'm going to go through some more information here, but what we did find is that both in 2024 and also 2025 to date, 5 events had outdoor music and noise at Oyster Factory Park over 4 hours. So that was, the duration was something that was discussed. 8 events had that noise after 9 p.m. And it was the same data, different months, just happened to be the same numbers to date for those 2 parks. So we did look at that. So if there were changes in that, that's how many it would affect at Oyster Factory Park. Also reviewed the complaints and issues. There were some issues with complaints where if there were multiple complaints for the same location, same event, only one was logged, made some corrections to that so we could better account for that information. But in the end, what we really found was that enforcement and consistency in the ordinance was one of the big issues we needed to resolve. So what we brought before you, what's in your packet today for discussion purposes to move forward is, like I said, to resolve that conflicting language for particularly special events and applicability of the noise ordinance. So in your packet, we do have some language, and what we're proposing is that special, again, for discussion to move forward, is special events may, and that's highlighted, be considered for exceptions to the ordinance, and those conditions be outlined by the town manager and approved. And then the idea would be that the special event organizer or someone involved in that event would have those approved conditions of the exceptions on site with them. So if there are complaints, the police department could deal with appropriately. For example, fireworks. Fireworks, most likely are going to be after the time, and they're also going to be too loud over our noise ordinance. So that is an example of an exception that Stephen, the town manager, could approve. The other thing is that, again, based on just discussion and some consistent messages we heard, was a decrease in the decibel level during specific times. So again, that relates to that 9 o'clock cutoff, or not 9 o'clock, excuse me, 10 p.m. limitation. Do we adjust that? So again, tonight's workshop is based on the noise ordinance. However, should council decide that that's part of the facilities, town facilities ordinance, or part of special events, obviously we can adjust accordingly, but that's something that you could consider. Also, there was some discussion about that duration, like I said, so that's something we did log. There is some draft language in the ordinance now where there's the duration is addressed. Again, that could be something that's in the noise ordinance, applies town-wide, or specific, and then again, we would just adjust where that language is housed. This is the exact language, again, just for discussion purposes, but the idea is that special events would have to meet the noise ordinance unless exceptions are granted by the town manager. And again, that's a may. It's not an automatic or something that is, they're entitled to go beyond. The other thing, just again, for clarity purposes, is to define lawful noise limitation. And this is where, based on the discussion, the decibel levels were addressed as far as 12 to 9, and then 9 to 10 it adjusts from the days of Sunday to Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday. So again, this is just a starting point for discussion, should you wish to address the decibel levels. We did not in the ordinance address levels of bass. We have information that we can measure it, and we know what tools are out there and available. However, we haven't received input as far as what's an acceptable bass level. So I do not know. So that might take more additional work, field trips. I don't know what exactly what council's desire is on that. Again, this is that 6 hours of continuous play. Again, you could address this several different ways, whether it's just a window of a certain amount of time, hours, that they have to indicate on their special event permit, if you want to include it in that portion of the ordinance, or is it something that you want across the board in the noise ordinance? And that's really what is in the proposed language in your packet. So I'm happy to entertain any questions. I know Lindy Simino is here to talk about special events if you have specific questions, or Chief has a lot of information on violations.
Ms. Frazier?
Yes, thank you, Heather. I wanted to go back over some of the points that you raised, just for clarification. So of the complaints in regards to noise that was received, this was for a year worth of events that this data was collected for?
I believe so.
And of that year of data collection, there were 4 complaints for events that occurred before that 9 o'clock time period, and there were 8 that occurred after in our parks.
Yes, I believe so.
And of those complaints, they all seem to have been collected for one event in specific.
I would have to dig further. I don't believe so.
Because I was just repeating what you said, that the majority of the complaints that came after that period were all collected from one particular event. I don't know if Chief could expound a little more on that. Trying to see what the 4 before 9 and the 8 after, what those were in regards to.
So, good morning, or good evening. As far as that chart goes, I believe that was just started about 6 months ago, so it does not cover the entire year, Councilwoman Frazier. What I will say is, for the entire year, from this month last year to now, the entire town has had 280 noise complaints that we have responded out to. Of those 280 noise complaints, 54% or 152 of them were between the hours of 9 and 12 p.m. at night. About 10% of those have been down at the Oyster Factory. So out of 10% of the 280, so you're looking roughly around 28 for the year have been down at the Oyster Factory. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I wanted to get in specifics on that because I know the last time this came up in January, just to be able to give clarity for our residents and those who are hearing, I don't want it to be lumped in that all of our complaints are coming in from parks, that we do have, in consideration of that data, complaints that come from neighborhoods and private communities too. But this particular ordinance is going to impact our parks that we govern and operate on. I am in favor of a lot of what was mentioned in terms of the amendment, and maybe some of those adjustments, specifically looking at how special events can get included in that too. But I also want to caution that we're not making decisions that are going to impact all of those who do abide by and utilize the parks in the way that we expect and have set for the opposition of a small handful of folks, especially if the data doesn't support it. I think our decision should always be made on if it is definitely something that we see is becoming obsessive amount of complaints. We should always be going with what's going to be in the best interest of the collective and not punishing, in some sense, those who do abide by our ordinances. And based on what's been provided here, it seems that that we do have, majority of those are abiding by that, specifically in regards to our parks. That's it for me.
Okay, So you did mention there were parts of what she presented that you felt comfortable with?
Yes, like changing it to where, special events, have to go under this umbrella too, or there are exceptions with that. I think the decibel level that was mentioned there between Thursdays and Sundays, I'm in favor of. And then having the time period I saw there from Fridays and Saturdays, I think would be good. Especially considering that anytime there is a complaint, our police department is contacted. And chief, from any of those instances, has it ever, or not has it ever, is there an amount that you can think of or note where you've ever had an event organizer not comply by whatever your officers have indicated if you've asked them to go down to the required decibel?
No, they'll go down, but we have seen instances where the noise will pick back up after we leave, and then there's been a couple times where we've had to go back. We haven't taken enforcement action because of the way the ordinance is written, but we have gone there and told them, hey, this is the second time we've come out here, please turn it down. And to go back to your stats real quick, Councilwoman Frazier, they are a little inaccurate, because what we noticed, what our dispatcher is doing is, as calls are coming in, we may get 3 or 4 complaints on one noise issue, and they only categorize it as one call for complaint. They kind of combine all the calls at once. So just because we have one noise complaint for the night, it could have been called in by 3 or 4 or 5 different people at once. So from that perspective, I just want you to take that in mind as well, that just because it only says 8 for 6 months, it doesn't mean that there weren't multiple complaints on the same noise complaint, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I get that. I'm looking at, it's for the same event. So I'm sure if it's, if one person was calling for a particular event, he probably didn't have just one call that night for that event. So I was looking more so on how many events has that impacted. So with that being said, a lot of it also falls back on us in terms of there should be enforcement, and hopefully the language clarification there is going to help with that. I don't know if it was mentioned here, Heather. I know one of the things we spoke about that should be added is that if an event organizer does not abide by our policy in terms of adhering to those requirements, then they would have those privileges revoked in terms of being able to continue to host events in the parks if they have to be contacted multiple times for that.
That was not part of this draft ordinance, just because this just focused on noise, but we certainly could include that in the special event ordinance. And again, after the discussion and staff has direction, we'll make sure that language is drafted and in all sections, whether it be special events, town facilities, and noise, and get all of that organized and bring it back to you. So it's not in this packet, but I hear you, and we can, if that's a consensus, include that.
But I think make sure that we have language that they can enforce, because if it's just an issue where they come out but they can't necessarily enforce something or give some type of citation, we don't want it. We don't want to create something that pretty much just becomes layered bureaucracy that we can't actually follow up on.
Okay, Mr. Hamilton?
Can you tell me what language are we going to implement here that they can enforce, and why? I'm not sure why we can't enforce what we have, but can you tell me what's going to be changed?
Oops, sorry, let me scroll up there. And it would be very close to this, but we would make sure. It would be very similar, if not exact to this, just make sure legal has already reviewed this, review it again. But basically, and you can read this, or I can read it out loud if you'd like, but basically what this states and the intent, we'd make sure it's clear if council agrees, is that special events, this is under the exceptions section. So if you've obtained a special event permit, special conditions may be established in that permit, and that's a may. So that's if with that special event permit, you indicate on that special event permit, which we're working through to make sure all of this is in that agreement, if you state that you're going to have outdoor live music, which is something you have to indicate, and you state it's going to be beyond 10 o'clock at night, then it would be up to the town manager to say, that's reasonable, yes or no. Like I said, the easiest example I can give is fireworks. our Christmas parade, arts and seafood. If there was a bark in the park type of event where you're going to have lots of barking dogs, chances are you're probably not gonna meet the noise ordinance possibly. So that could be something you could ask for an exception for. So that's the intent of a lot of these words that legal helped us draft. And again, that, like I said,
To go along with that, in the packet, and I don't know if you've got a slide for it, for section 1288, Heather? Okay, so in 1288, there's a section B. And the section B talks about special event permits, and it says that they are required for any action that takes place on a non-recurring and so if you get a special event permit, that you have to meet the sound levels that we're setting in here. The issue we have right now is in the special event ordinance, there's some conflicting language that makes it sound like if you get a special event permit that it's exempt from the current noise ordinance. This will clarify that to make sure that special events are not exempt and have to actually meet the same standards. So right now, if the police get a call on a special event, there's some conflicting language on whether they actually have to comply with the noise ordinance or not. So that's one of the major things as staff that we want to fix, because we want to make sure that we can enforce that properly.
I won't be fair with you, I know that, right?
Yes, sir.
But they don't know that.
Correct. Yes, sir.
You gotta spell it out, educate as we go along.
Yes, sir.
And section 1289 has the penalties in it, so the penalties are still there.
Chief, question for you, sir.
Sir.
If we change this language, or if we change that requirement that gives you the right to either shut the event down or write a citation, is that everything that you're gonna need to enforce our noise ordinance?
That does, when it's not contradicting, that's what's holding our officers back from actually enforcing it. We obviously try to go out, give them a warning the first time, if they comply with turning it down, and it's suitable and it fits within the decibel readings, then we're all good. If we come back out for the same noise because they cranked it back up, then that's the point where either we can shut it down or issue a citation, or both.
Ms. Burden?
I am in favor of applying our noise ordinance to these special events. So thank you for that. The couple things that I would like to talk about further is the duration. I think currently you have it proposed at 6 hours, and then the end time. And this is going to, what we're talking about tonight is to the entire town, not specific to any park.
correct. Tonight it was a noise workshop, and what we've drafted already is just related to the noise ordinance. But certainly as it relates, this is a workshop, so I encourage any direction or information that may touch other ordinances, but.
So as it reads now, any outdoor live music would be capped at 6 hours and would have to stop, go back, according to that slide, either at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Correct.
Have we received any complaints at any of the parks besides Oyster Factory? I know we have received 280 noise complaints plus, but what about specifically to the parks?
Should have brought my glasses.
I'm happy.
Loan him yours, Fred.
I'm happy to try.
That's okay. No, ma'am. No.
So the only town park that we've received complaints about is noise stemming from the Oyster Factory Park.
I want to say no. There are some calls that came from downtown. I can't verify if that came from another park or not, because we can't specify the exact location. The way we look up our stats, it just says downtown.
Okay.
So that could be one of the bars, it could be one of the restaurants, or it could be one of the parks. I can't
Could be
say.
Wright Family, could be Martin, Du Bois.
And my question is, or my comments are, I think it's important for us as a town to have venues or parks that people can rent to have some of these festivals or these all-day events that we've had in the past. I don't want to stop them completely. I just would like them not to be in a park that's surrounded by residential areas. So for instance, our new Riverside Park, the Buckwalter Amphitheater, and so my suggestion is going to be for us to apply this noise ordinance to the special events as talked about, but to specifically have park rules for the Oyster Factory where the duration is limited to 4 hours and the end time is at 9 o'clock. I don't want to penalize, again, other areas when it just seems like one park is causing our issues.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Heather, going back to something that Councilman Burden mentioned, and I just want to make sure we get clarification. In terms of the application of this ordinance to broader areas, this is not to be confused with, we still don't have jurisdictions over private communities governed by HOAs and POAs, do we?
Correct. There's still the list of exceptions, and at this time, staff wasn't proposing any changes to that list of exceptions.
Just wanted to make that clear.
So, my takeaway, just to summarize where council can say, if they disagree with what I'm summarizing, I think you got was everybody's supports the special permit blending in with the noise ordinance or vice versa. Everybody supported the decibel level in the noise ordinance. The one thing that I wanted to bring up is the 45 decibels after 9 o'clock. I think that's, for me, it's fruitless. I don't want to, of course, if we limit the time to 9 o'clock, that goes away, does it not?
It could, certainly. Right now, the way it's written is between 12, this one's a little bit simpler to follow, 12 and 9, it's 50 decibels, and then 9 to 10, Sundays through Thursdays, drops to 45.
I mean, the reason
You could remove that.
I bring it up because if the time is 9, and I did seem to hear that, we dropped it an hour, then that may not need to be necessary and written anywhere, because I didn't want the police to have to go out 30 minutes later after a time and try to police something that for 1 hour. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I was glad to hear Ms. Frazier bring up the enforcement, and it is out there. The only other thing I heard mentioned was to make this ordinance specific to one park, not universal throughout, I think is what I heard Ms. Burton say. And I don't have did you say that or not?
I did say that.
Okay, I concur myself. I see, because every park's different, and I think we illustrated that just a second ago based on the numbers of complaints emanating from one but not from all the others. And the only other thing I would encourage at some point, the biggest thing that we've always heard the biggest offense from was bass. And I think in recent discussions, we know that bass is on a different frequency, being like a C frequency versus an A frequency. And so I think at some point we need to understand bass just a little bit better. I know there are places in the country that control that outcome of what bass produces. So anyway, I'd just like us to look at that at some point. All that being said, in summary, does council have any other input to give staff on this subject?
I'm not sure you're correct on the bass being at a different decibel. Decibel is decibel. If we use our meter and it's at 50 decibel, bass would not change that, right? It's not going to change. Music or sound is sound, no matter what kind of sound it is. So our meter is going to measure sound. So one of the things that probably would make sense, if you're going to change something at Oyster Factory Park, maybe the decibel level need to be changed to 45 instead of 50.
I don't know. 50 to 60 dB is conversation.
Yeah.
That's talking. That's a little low. And the only reason I brought up the thing, Mr. Hamilton, about the bass is, and again, everybody's using Chat GPT now, and I went online and looked it up, and And it's specifically spelled out, and I did send it to staff, that it's on a different C frequency, which permeates the lower range. So most people, it doesn't get necessarily picked up on a meter unless the meter is gauged to pick it up. And so that's the only reason I brought that up. But again, we can go with what we have now and address that down the road if it is a problem. It may not be.
I do also want to clarify, it's not on the screen, but for everyone, even the public listening, is that the decibels are measured 250 feet away.
Correct.
So to follow up with the comment, not on the base, but just the summarization, just so we go back and we make sure we bring what council wants for first reading, is the consensus that we make this specific to just the one park?
I will support that.
I would support that.
And I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, because just that goes back, I think when we originally brought this, that was the proposal. So we can go back to that similar language, and we'll look at the comments that came from tonight and to make sure we meld everything together with the special events. But I just wanted to make sure so that when we put the language together, bring back for first reading, we were representing the majority of council's decision.
And could I also ask for clarification on the hours, 12 till 9 p.m.? Is that for just Sundays through Thursdays or all?
I'm in favor of this 12 through 9, Sundays through Thursdays. I think Fridays and Saturdays, that 10 time period is fine.
I'm good with 9 universal.
I am too. Again, specific to the Oyster Factory.
I'm not sure I'm ready to say 9. Here's the reason why. If you have an event that's going to be 4 hours, the time they would have to start breaking down at 8 o'clock.
Well, could we do the amplified music till 9 and then the event technically doesn't have to end till 10?
Sure, and of course, sorry, yes, we could do that. This is related to the noise and that, the noise ordinance, so the event could still continue.
Once you start playing music, it's over.
And to Councilman Hamilton's point, like, we do a lot of conversations here about changing the way of life and things that people are used to. And, I don't want to get into a place where we're becoming, we're restricting so much in terms of impacting or implementing these ordinances, but also now changing how people do interact, engage in our parks, that we are spending tax dollars and things like that to encourage people to come and host events. And I think, again, if we have folks who are abiding by our ordinances, I don't see the point in reducing that hour, especially if those events are happening in a 4-hour time period. We're restricting them even more so by taking that away. If anyone has had the opportunity to look at that decibel level, 250 feet from where that point of music is occurring, it's even less than a conversation at that point. If someone, the music is exceeding that, that is someone who's clearly in violation outside of our decibel levels, and someone, as stated, that shouldn't be allowed to continue to host events there. But I think restricting it to 9 on the weekends isn't, it's not fair or practical to those who are doing events and adhering to what we want them to do.
One more thing. Chief, I think we may have to use some big brother stuff here on this one. If someone is, if you called out and you did your meter said they were over the allowed decibel in our permit, simply tell them that you have to keep your music or your noise at a certain decibel, especially Oyster Factory Park. If they not going to abide to those rules, you have the authority to say this party is over.
Yes, sir, we do.
You may have to use that.
Yes, sir.
I think we helped as much as we could.
I think I have what we need. Sounds like, just to recap, to make sure I'm clear, is to fix the discrepancy about special events in the noise ordinance, that special events are not exempt. Receive exceptions, and then make some changes to either the facility rentals or the special events, however, to get that where the times, which is still up for conversation, and we can continue to monitor and see what those times are that events occur for Oyster Factory Park, and then make the violations very clear as far as what the enforcement is.
Also,
Look at base at a future point.
debarment, if somebody violates it, they can't get another one.
Okay,
All right,
thank
see you
you.
next month.
So next on the formal agenda item, Mr. Stees is going to talk to us about the ordinance amending section 21, the emergency management to define a local civil emergency. And this will be our second and final reading.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to pull a Kevin here and say that nothing has changed since first reading. If you are good with that, I have a motion for you to approve it second and final reading. If not, I will have a presentation behind that I can revisit from last month.
You did learn from Kevin. What is council's wish?
Let Kevin do it.
Are you ready to go straight to a vote, or you want the presentation?
Let's go to the vote.
All right, so we need a motion. It's presented on the screen. We need a motion and a second on the ordinance amending section 21.
I move to approve the motion as indicated on the screen.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Aye with me as well. And boy, that was good, Mr. Stees. I'm going to have Kevin classes with everybody. All right. So next we have resolution to approve the multi-party agreement between Buckwalter Association, Inc. and Beaufort County and Town of Bluffton to construct the connector road. Ms. Collin,
Yes.
again.
So, thank you. That's exactly what I'm here to present, is a resolution to approve that three-party agreement. So what this request is and what the resolution will do is formalize shared responsibilities between the town, Beaufort County, as well as Buckwalter Association, Inc. And I'll refer to those back and forth as SEDA, Southeastern Development Associates, who is also Buckwalter Association, Inc. And that's to construct what we call the Buckwalter Place Connector Road to Washington Square Development, and then the town to accept the donation of the right-of-way. And I'll get to show you some maps where I'm talking about. So back in 2007, the initial master plan for Buckwalter Place was approved, and then it's been since amended, 2019. And what that did is it identified a connector road, so basically a parallel road to Buckwalter Parkway from that development to Washington Square. CEDA owns that property, like I said, it used that a little bit interchangeably. So where that road exists and the existing roads needed to complete that connection. Washington Square, when that was built, they constructed the road to the property line. They needed that for their internal network. So we said, just build it to the property line and eventually that road will connect. That is currently unbuilt. It has been planned, but that's what we're here for today. What that will do is that is actually on the Beaufort County Access Management Plan, and that will provide a cross-access corridor, which will reduce traffic, which we've heard through surveys, and we know that's an issue with increased development in the town, and will provide another alternate route. This shows that access management plan that, yes, that area is there. You see that unbuilt kind of dirt area. To the left of the screen, that's Washington Square. And then you can see that yellow, that's Buckwalter Place. And that connection right over here. Is my mouse turned out? So in this attached agreement, again, it outlines who's responsible for what. So because it would be a public, we want this to be a public road. The town would be involved. We would accept that right of way. Want to make sure that that's an ungated, unobstructed access, that is truly a public road to help alleviate the traffic issues. CETA will construct the road. The agreement says that CETA they're in the construction business. They have the plans, they have the permits in hand. So they would construct that road and then be reimbursed by the town and county. Everyone would participate with a third of the costs, and those numbers are estimated at a little bit over $654,000 for the construction. So the amount would not exceed that $261 for the town's share. This is just a more visual drawing showing where that road connection is. You see, obviously, the Buckwalter Place Commerce Park, and then that connection just a little bit closer there off of Innovation Drive. And that's really, if you're visualizing driving through there near the gas station. So from the Kroger gas station, that would take you directly into Washington Square. This shows that connection to Washington Square. And as I stated, they did build the road to the property line, so we would not have to do any improvements. No improvements would be necessary on that part of the property. Again, just another visual to show that connection and where that would occur. And so tonight, what we're asking is that you consider this and approve the agreement for services and the donation of that real property so that it can become a public road for the town manager to execute all of the necessary documents, including that right-of-way deed. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or here is a motion on the screen.
You have a question?
I don't have any questions.
Can you go back to the three-way costs? CETA is one of the partners, right?
Correct.
And they gave a bid. Did we get any other bids?
No, they submitted the bid, and we are negotiating some additional terms of that. There's some items in there that the town attorneys are still working with their attorneys to get those lower. But we did not, since they're constructing the road. They already had all the permits in place and all that information.
Stephen, if you compare these numbers to what other works we have done, is this in line or not?
We'll verify that. I will say it's in line to what we're getting pricing on for the other connection we're looking to over in New Riverside. It's in line with those pricing, but I'll compare it to projects that we're doing right as well to verify to make sure it meets that.
So if we approve this tonight, what are we approving? We approving this price, or we approving the verification?
You're approving me to be able to execute all the documents to make that, and part of that is committing us to the cost.
It's a not to exceed. It would be a not to exceed number.
Say again?
A not to exceed. Not to exceed $261,939.89.
So, fair question. So when he checks the numbers, he can send them to all of council and everybody can put their eyes on it?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, sir? Ms. Frazier? All right, I have nothing. So we'll go into, I need a motion and a second on the resolution to approve the multi-party agreement between Buckwalter Association and Beaufort County and the town of Bluffton.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to execute all necessary documents, including the acceptance of the right-of-way deed, submitting all required plats, and to make any amendments that do not change the project scope or overall cost as outlined in the attachments and exhibits.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Wow, you're working a lot tonight.
Just see you one more time.
All right, so the next one is the proposed amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances to include regulations addressing abandoned derelict boats in the town waterways. Ms. Collins.
All right, so
think
it's
we
me
did
again. So this is first reading of amendments to the code addressing abandoned, derelict, and actually sunken vessels in the town's waterways. So I was before you not quite a year ago, introducing this state law to you and a partnership with South Carolina Department of Natural Resources to assist them in the public notification and the process to identify and remove these boats. What the state has since done, the governor approved in May, was changes to the ordinance. And what he stated in that ordinance was that if local jurisdictions wanted to partner and assist with this, they had to adopt the exact same language that the state had. So there's really no room for amendments to the actual law itself, just whether or not you'd like the town to participate in that and, again, include that in our local ordinance. This, I do not have updated coordinates, but this is just an idea of that, yes, there are abandoned boats in the town's waterways. This was what I presented to you last year, so this may have changed, but there could be because we do have jurisdictional waters and boats that could be in our jurisdiction. What the proposed amendments do is outline how the seizure and disposal of abandoned boats, policy and procedures, the violations and penalties, and how you enforce that. So what I know the town of Hilton Head has done, Beaufort County is bringing it forward to their committee next week, I believe, is to partner and to all work together in order to get that done. Should you approve this on first reading, our next steps are we're trying to coordinate a meeting with Beaufort County, the Department of Natural Resources, to really document what that process looks like. What exactly would the town do? What we envision is that the town would not be in the business of the removal of the boats. However, it would be in the assistance with the identification, the legal process, and should an emergency arise, we could, again, assist with that. And if you do move forward, the second and final reading would be anticipated for October, in line roughly with Beaufort County's schedule. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Yes. Once we approve this, is there gonna be another, how are we gonna know the cost for these abandoned boats, and where would we take them, and when do we talk about what that means to our budget?
It should not affect our budget. However, the specific, what we would outline is what we're trying to coordinate right now with DNR and Beaufort County is what does the process actually look like? And again, all that's outlined in the state law as far as that goes. And there's, again, we shouldn't be, but.
The goal with the way that the state law was adopted is that we can adopt locally to give notice and tag them and start the process so that DNR can then come in and remove them and dispose of them.
DNR will be responsible for disposal.
Correct. Them and the county working together. And one of the reasons we wanted to adopt when the county did is because several of the boats that are in the May River are within 100 feet or so or less of being out of our jurisdiction. So literally, if we adopted and the county didn't, some of those boats could just move it to the opposite side of the river and not have an issue anymore. So the goal is us and the county adopting the same thing, working with DNR. So we would start the notification process, and then DNR and the county would work to remove them.
There's also been a nonprofit on Hilton Head that has been actively moving boats, removing derelict boats, in conjunction with some help from the county. Don't know whether that's possible out here, but it's certainly something that Hilton Head, Bluffton, and the county have all been talking together about.
And we're actively trying to schedule that meeting and include Hilton Head as well. We just haven't been able to get all the schedules to sync just yet.
And I will say our legislative delegation is very active in this and is pushing DNR to get down here and remove the boats that are in our waterways.
Ms. Burton, you have anything?
Well, I was looking at the definitions of an abandoned versus a derelict, and I just want to make sure I fully understand this. So abandoned does not have any kind of registration numbers on it.
Correct.
And they would get a notice on the boat, is that correct? That it has been identified as an abandoned
Yes,
vessel?
yes, there's the process to kind of put a placard on the boat, so to speak, and attempt to find who the owner is, but correct.
And then a derelict is that it has a registration.
It has a registration, and I don't have it in front of me, but there's lights and I believe a horn or a sound device. There are three things that if it doesn't have, then it's considered a derelict boat.
And just to go along with that, the definition of the state law that was adopted was very specific that we have to adopt it.
Exorbitant amount of money. So I think it's a worthy question to clarify, because nothing in this statute really indicated that from the state level to my knowledge.
Right, and that's why I said we'll definitely get those answers, and see what, Hilton Head Island has done, or Beaufort County. Again, it's not our intention to spend any money, and to actually, like, Mr. Steve stated, it's not, our intention is to help with the legal notification, the identification, and then DNR to actually remove the boats with Beaufort County. So, however, you never know if there's an emergency situation where the county or DNR might not be able to get there. And certainly I'll get all that information. And I would think that would be something council would have to include, because that's not a budgeted item that we have in our, approved budget at this point. So I'll certainly get that information, but it's not our intent, that's not at least staff's intent in talking with, legal counsel, that we would be in the business of the actual removal of the boats.
Okay, if you'll follow up.
Of course.
All right, I think you're looking for a motion for item 3, proposed amendments to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances regarding the abandoned and derelict boats. May I have a motion, please, and a second?
I make a motion to approve as presented on the screen.
I second that motion.
A motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, unanimous. Thank you, Heather.
Kevin, do you want an abandoned boat?
Do I want an abandoned boat? Absolutely. My kids would love that.
We put another one. We can put them in the park.
That's right.
Item 4.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Eichert.
Yes, great, thank you. We are here this evening for consideration of an ordinance to approve the real property exchange agreement between the Town of Bluffton and Beaufort County School District for certain properties in Buckwalter PUD, as listed on the screen, and the authorization of the execution of those documents. So we're here for that information. This is referred to as the Willow Run track. I've been in front of you a couple times already about this project. So one of the processes that we have in front of you is for the easement agreements and the exchange of land, and then the purchase, or the purchase of the development rights. So I got this screen on here. Please pay attention. Approval this evening, your approval is predicated on Beaufort County School District acquiring these properties. So please note that when you make this approval of this documentation, what that does is we're teeing up all of the processes that we have, so that way when the school district hopefully purchases the property, we then have all the documentation ready to go for the town manager to sign off on the paperwork, so we can do all the transitions, so we're not waiting an additional 2 months after the fact to get this taken care of. So when you make your approval, it is to authorize him to move forward with these approvals predicated on Beaufort County School District purchasing the property. So as we stated, this is the Willow Run tract that you see in front of you, highlighted all in orange, and the property that the town owns is in the red. The town owns the 19.75 acres. That was donated to the town through the 9th agreement. The school district has determined that this property is an appropriate location for any of their possible needs in the future. It's one of the last known large tracts of land, which is why they are trying to actively move forward with the purchase of this property. May contain sports complex, schools, lower complex, middle schools, athletic fields, administrative offices. They're not 100% sure what they will do with it, but it's better to have the land readily available so that way they can plan for it in the future. Again, here's an aerial view of the property. As you can see, we own the property in the rear. So tonight we have 3 different items that are moving forward. So the easement agreement, and that is, there's an easement through the property, and I have a map here in a second to show you. That this easement agreement is a piece of property, or excuse me, it's a strip that allows access from 278 through the property to the town-owned property. And then once we go and the school district owns it and we go to exchange lands, which is the land swap, that easement is no longer needed. So we don't need to have an easement to a piece of property at the rear of the property when we're going to, in essence, swap land with them at the front of the property. And then also the purchase and sales agreement is for that development rights. So, you know, as we just described previously, that the development rights for the 260 residential dwelling units, or RDUs, 162 acres of commercial development, and the 2 150-unit hotels. So we would be purchasing those. So that's part of this agreement. This visual helps to represent both the orange line represents the town's easement agreement, and then the red line represents that there's an easement agreement with Indian Hill and the Boyles property, which is the property adjacent, which is in unincorporated Beaufort County. So one of the items that the seller of the property, or Indian Hills, is responsible for working with the Boyles property because they have an easement agreement through the property to have access to 278. So they are working through either the extinguishment or the removal, or whatever private agreement that they come up with in order to remove that access for them, but then also for us. So we talked about the land swap, just an image here of what we own in the green, where we're gonna kind of flip-flop and go to the properties in what would be the red up here. So we've talked about this before, where we've requested, it was a minimum of 10 acres. I believe we have this listed as a total of 11 acres of upland area. Now that does include a portion of the wetland buffer. So we do have a buffer off of the wetland. We own a portion of it, and the school district potentially would own a portion of it. So that way they could still have maintenance around it as needed. And then there's a buffer off of 278 as well. That's that kind of dotted line up there. We refer to the development rights, again, the 260 RDUs, 162 acres of general commercial, the 2 150 unit hotels. So those are all be purchased. Part of that was for the $2.5 million. And it shows in the documentation that there is an opportunity for the school district to purchase back commercial rights if they so choose. However, if they start to develop the site, then that is null and void. They're no longer allowed to purchase any of those rights. And the time frame is 5 years after the sale, and up to, I believe it's 20 years. So in that time frame, they would have an opportunity, if they have no development on the property, if they don't do anything with the site, they would have that opportunity. But the second that they start the development of it, that agreement goes away, and then those rights obviously stay with us in perpetuity. From a process standpoint, we have all 3 of these in front of you this evening. This is the first reading. It's anticipated we'll bring this back to you for second and final, and obviously for the town manager to move forward as the school district goes through their process. I have a motion in front of you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and go from there.
Ms. Frazier, any questions?
Without making this too preemptive, do we have an idea where the school district and this particular party is in terms of coming to an agreement?
Very close. That is subjective. So it's very close. There is just some private issues between the seller and the Boyles family that they're trying to work through. And we've had an opportunity to let the Boyles family know what the town is doing, so we just educated them. In no ways did we try to persuade them or anything, just give them education as to all the documentation that I have provided to you over the months in these presentations. We just gave that to them so that way they had the information. So I think that the seller and the Boyles family are working through some type of agreements. I know that was a hiccup with the school district. So as soon as that we can get that taken care of, my understanding, that's one of the final items for the school district, one of their hurdles to get through in order for them to move forward.
Any other?
No, I was like, thank you, Kevin.
Yes.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Hamilton, any questions? All right, I guess we've seen this quite a few times.
Yes, sir.
Discussions over the last couple of years regarding this site, so what I'll be looking for is a motion on item 4. Please, in a second.
I move to the proposed motion that's on the screen for approval.
Second.
We have Mr. Hamilton with a motion, Ms. Frazier with a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
On
Kevin.
behalf of legal counsel, we'd like to thank staff and Stephen for the efforts that they have put in getting this to before you today. It's been a lot of work and a moving target. So glad we got it to you.
It's been going on quite a while. All right, up next, number 5, is Natalie, and consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2026 budget to provide for expenditure of certain funds, carryover information, which is fairly normal for us. So if
Yes.
you please.
Good evening. So yes, this is the first budget amendment for fiscal year 2026. Included in the amendment are adjustments, use of prior year fund balance, and then committing additional funds to the capital asset reserve fund. Currently, this is the unaudited fiscal year 2025 analysis with over $6.8 million projected to add to fund balance. First is the general fund. For revenues, we are recognizing grants, both new and carryover. Those grants are reimbursements, so that's why we're going to carry them over into fiscal year 26. And then use of prior year fund balance. So there's a cybersecurity project, there's the canine grant, and then the federal tech grant that's going to be carried over. And then new is the communications town logo, and then some additional contracts and encumbrances that were not completed in 25 that will be completed in 26, and then the transfer out to CIP for projects. Again, on the expenditures, those list of grants to offset the revenue that we're anticipating, and then the commitment to the capital asset reserve is $500,000. For local hospitality tax, it will be funding the projects in CIP, those listed there for facilities, roads, and stormwater projects. And then with local ATAX funds, similar situation to support the CIP projects, totaling $606,768. Within CIP, we will be recognizing an intergovernmental agreement for one of our projects with the Beaufort County School District, as well as a pending grant penny award for land acquisition. And then this slide notes the transfer in from general fund with some adjustments to the current year budget. And then here on the CIP side, the transfers in for those funds that we just went through. For stormwater, I do want to note that there is a slight increase from what was presented in your packet. It is for the pending grant for the hazardous mitigation. The expenditures were omitted whenever the budget was submitted. So there is going to be a slight, or an increase of just under $400,000 from what you received in your packet. So we have the pending grant, recognizing the revenues as well as use of prior fund balance for contracts and carry forwards that have not been completed in fiscal year 25. And then also the transfers out to CIP for 2 projects. And then in debt service, just an increase of just under $60,000 for projects in the CIP that are budgeted. So in total, the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget is $108,276 and $456,456, my apologies. And again, this is an increase from what was received in your packet of just under $400,000. And that is all within the CIP fund, or I'm sorry, the stormwater fund. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Ms. Hamilton? Ms. Byrd?
No questions.
Ms. Frazier?
No questions.
Ditto.
Okay.
So we need now a motion on item 5, the consideration of an ordinance amending the town of Bluffton fiscal year 2026 budget expenditures. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the motion as presented on the screen.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? None? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous? Thank you. Ms. Natalie?
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Oh, you're still up.
You're still
Okay.
stuck with me.
Yeah, okay, we can do that. So next is item 6, which I'm sure you'll be glad to walk us through.
Yes, so this is the ATAC recommendations for the quarter ending June 30th, 2025. We had 7 applicants. One of them was tabled from the prior quarter. The total requested amount is $275,500, and that is what is recommended by ATAC. And I'll go through each applicant individually for vote. Currently, there is over $650,000 available for distribution. You can see here where we received the final quarter for the fiscal year, those allocations, and then we did have $17,000 in lapsed grants that we put back into the fund balance. This is a summary of the applicants and how they were scored by the committee. And then the first applicant that we'll go through is the Michael C. Riley High School Alumni Association. This is for phase 3 of a project that is done at the MC Riley site. They do have an annual gathering where the alumni comes back and gets together. And so this is to enhance that area, and they're requesting $20,000.
You want us to say something, or you want to keep going?
Nope, I can keep going. If you have any questions, just feel free to stop
Please.
me, okay? And so this is a recommended motion. The committee did unanimously recommend $20,000.
Let me ask one question of council. She had the first sheet up there, and if anybody has an issue with something, we can do them item by item. If no one has an issue with what's presented, then we could approve them all at one time.
I think we need to do it all at one, item by item.
Item by item, okay. All right, you want to go back to your first one that you just brought up and with your motion? There you go, okay. All right, so is there any discussion on this one? Hearing none, okay, then we need a motion.
I'm sorry, do you mind the average score of 18 and the percentage of 45%? I don't know if 2 slides ago it might explain.
So the committee, and then it's also in your packet, there's a scoring sheet that they go through, an evaluation of the applicant, the project. And so this was the score that was received back. And if we were to weight that against what the requested amount is, that's what the percentage would be. But they elected to recommend the full request.
Anyone else? All right, we need a motion, please, for the MC Riley.
I move to approve a $20,000 grant to the Michael C. Riley School Alumni Association in support of the Phase 3 of the MC Riley Commemorative Garden and Wall Refurbishing Project.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. The next applicant is the Coastal Conservation Association. This is an annual request of $10,000, and the event will be held this month, over the weekend of the 19th through the 21st in Old Town Bluffton.
The event is gonna be from the 19th to the what?
Through the 21st.
Where is this gonna be held at?
In Old Town Bluffton, I believe they held it at Martin Family Park last year.
It's gonna be a tight event. We have another event on the 17th to the 20th.
Don't they normally do a one night, I thought?
This is a weekend project that was presented.
Right. Okay. All right, any questions or discussion? All right, we need a motion on the Coastal Conservation Association.
I move to approve the motion as presented on the screen.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. It's unanimous.
Okay. SOBA has come back with their annual request of $40,000. This is to align with their fiscal year with the project of getting the word out, and they are requesting $40,000, and that is what was recommended by ATAC.
Any comments or questions? None? Need a motion, please, for the Society of Bluffton Artists.
I move to approve $40,000 to the Society of Bluffton Artists in support of getting the workout.
Oh, shoot, yes.
Getting the word out project for fiscal year 2026.
There's more underlying stuff than that's what's real.
How you working out?
All right, we have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay, the Historic Bluffton Arts and Seafood Festival is requesting $80,000 for this event. It will be held over 9 days in October. And this is the same request that was requested last year as well, or same amount.
Any questions or comments?
I need to recuse myself on this.
Okay.
Why?
An event for this particular week is being hosted. That one of the events we're partnering with this year.
Okay, so I need a motion for the Historic Bluffton Arts and Seafood Festival, Inc.
Approve the motion as presented on the screen.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? None? All in favor, signal by aye. Aye. Unanimous? One abstention.
Campbell Chapel Community Development Ministry is coming back for a request for Phase 3 of the restoration and rehabilitation of the historic Campbell Chapel. They're requesting $109,000, and this is just for that Phase 3 of the project.
This is where our worships our recruits.
Okay, any comments or discussion? So we have another recusal. And we need a motion for Campbell Chapel Community Development Ministry, please.
I move to approve the grant as presented on our screen.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Campbell Chapel AME Church is coming to request $10,000 in support of the 162nd South Carolina Conference, which will be held in Bluffton, September 17th through the 20th.
Questions? None? Okay, we need a motion on Campbell Chapel AME Church regarding the 10,000 request.
I move to approve the motion as presented on the screen.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the final request is from Historic Bluffton Foundation. They're requesting $6,500 for the fall tour of homes, which will be held on October 4th.
I have a question of council. I'm going to be helping direct traffic or something on that day as part of that event. Do I need to recuse myself?
I don't think that recusal is if you have a direct or indirect financial benefits.
Thank you.
Doesn't sound that way.
Okay, any comments or discussion here? None? So we need a motion for the Historic Bluffton Foundation, please.
I moved.
Approve the motion that's on the screen.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have item 7. Mr. Beckler, you're going to talk to us about a street sweeper.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, council, and thank you for allowing me to present to you this evening. Town staff's looking to request of council to authorize the town manager to purchase a new street sweeper for town of Bluffton. The request is based on 3 major points here. One being the MS4 Good Housekeeping Program, which I'm sure Bill has drilled into all of you over the years here. Secondly is preventative maintenance to our roads, which will help prevent against degradation of the asphalts and striping and all the other aspects of our road. And also to support the expanded road network. As Bluffton grows, we need to grow with this machine and cover more. The existing machine was really set up to do parking lots and doesn't handle the amount of road work we now have to maintain. Here's my recommendation. If you have any questions, we can address them. We will be reusing the existing truck minus the street sweeping equipment on it to support the grounds maintenance crew once the new equipment comes on board.
All right.
Larry, if you would outline that this was
Yes.
in the budget that council approved, and it is on a purchase contract that we are using, that's been negotiated for the purchase price.
So as Stephen outlined for us, yes, it is through a purchasing
Replacement.
contract. It was in the budget as proposed for this year, and we should be all covered with that. So next steps would be kind of outlined here as well.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, you didn't finish, I'm sorry.
That was just a picture, so you can see what
Okay.
it looks like.
It looks
as it's
beautiful.
driving down the street.
We love it.
It also has the added implementation to clean out catch basins, which,
And the goal
Ahead
for
of
this one
storm
is not to throw
coming.
nearly as much dirt up in the air as the current
yes.
one does.
right now, we have to follow behind the street sweeper to keep it clean.
I'm assuming it will have the town of Bluffton on it somewhere.
Of course. We will have
I'm
logos.
sorry, I shouldn't have asked.
We will have logos all over, and you'll probably see familiar faces driving, like Thomas or Mac.
Mr. Hamilton?
Larry, is this your first request or presentation?
It is.
And you asked for all this money one time?
I keep following Kevin, I'm like,
A year of watching.
him, I've got it down, just go for the big bucks right away.
All right, thank you, sir.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? None? So we need a motion on item 7, please, regarding the street sweeper.
I move to accept the proposed motion on the screen.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Near the end, closer.
Bring some, David, bring some.
We're gonna have, Neelam's doing, item 8. Neelam, sorry, for the Economic Development Incentive Agreement. Thank you.
I just found out Kevin's timing all these presentations, so. Again, good to be in front of you again, Mayor and Council, thank you. We're going to talk about yet another economic development incentive grant opportunity. But we've been doing this for 2 years. I thought you'd like to see some stats. We have had, this is our 9th economic development project grant request, and thus far, if this one passes, this will be a capital investment of $56,100,000 for the town, into the town of Bluffton, which will comprise 90,500 square feet of office space and create 161 new jobs. The ordinance you passed 2 years ago this month is doing its job. So I just thought you'd like to see that. What we're talking about today is Spartina 449. You've probably heard of this company before. We talked about the background, how this works for this economic development grant. This is the corporate headquarters, so it falls under that purview. And the way this process works, you've heard this again before, the applicant, in this case, in conjunction with Beaufort County Economic Development, came to the town and said, hey, we're thinking about putting our headquarters in Bluffton, but we've also looked at Charleston, we've also looked at Savannah, but we really like to do Bluffton, and we hear you have a grant. How does that work? And we explained that to them. They get a 50% reduction on their building permit fees in year 1, 100% reduction on their stormwater fees, 50% reduction on their business license fees for years 1 to 5. And as all grants, as I've talked about before, this is a reimbursement grant. So they pay the money first, and then we reimburse them on the back end, on the anniversary of their business opening. And Mr. Hamilton, one of the things we always do when we talk to these people is, you're gonna hire Bluffton folks, right?
Absolutely.
We talk about that, that's right in there.
Sure.
Then we have the staff review recommendation, and then I come in front of you and ask for money. So, Spartina 449, this is what the facade of their headquarters would look like. It's a 14,000 square foot facility in Bluffton Village, a $6.1 million investment, 15 new jobs at an average salary of $40.71 per hour, and they would like to break ground by the end of the year. So a beautiful building for a beautiful company that represents the Low Country. Again, so here's where it is in Bluffton Village. You can see Bluffton Road down there at the bottom. If you were to go up Thurman Road on the left, you'd go to the post office. If you go to the right, you go to the library. But that area in red is where the building would be located. Just get your bearings. The way the grant works, the grant for Spartina 449 would be $196,487 over 5 years. Again, this is a reimbursement grant. But the town would still realize a net revenue of $140,000 over the 5-year period. So a good grant for both parties involved. Could bring 15 high-paying jobs to Bluffton. And if there are no questions, I have a motion ready for you for first reading.
Are there questions, Ms. Frazier?
No, but I think my buddy over here should have a question.
What should my question be? I don't have any questions.
He's selling products that she sells.
One thing that you could ask that I would say is that Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation did approve, I think they're providing a grant as well.
I believe so,
Some
yes.
economic development incentives to help make this happen as well. So this isn't the town going along. This is our partnership with Economic Development Corporation supporting this as well.
Very much so.
That is good to know.
We work with them a lot. It works really well.
Right. So we need a motion regarding the Economic Development Incentive Agreement that's been presented.
I make a motion to approve them as presented on the screen.
Second.
We have the motion and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all signify by voting aye or nay, but aye.
Aye.
We got it unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you. You look sharp tonight, buddy.
You don't wear a tie for the first
I
time.
know what
of your
happened.
employment, and then your wife buys you a suit, and all you get is compliments. So thank you, sir.
Remember one thing, when Mr. Hamilton wanted you to take your game up a little bit a year ago, you don't want to outdo him. That's correct. All right, so next we have consent agenda items, and is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be removed for discussion? All right, hearing none, I would like a motion for approval of the consent agenda, please.
Remove.
Need a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? None. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. And now we need a motion and a vote to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Second.
All right, you got her, Bridget. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
First time you've got to do that in a while. Usually Dan beats you to it.